what I am going to talk about is the game plan process, and this is probably what's most enjoyable for me in this, in the entire process or journey that we have with our clients. It's this first part, and I really love diving in and exploring where somebody's at right now. So it's literally just peeling back all the layers of the onion and say, okay, where are we at financially? What are our goals? What's our time frame? What's our risk tolerance levels? What do we want to get to? What does that represent for us? And how can real estate potentially play a role in that? And there's every game plan or every person that we work with is unique in where they're at, where they want to get to, and their journey of how they're going to get there. And so it's different every single time. So what I want to do is spend about 15 or 20 minutes talking about what that process is like, going through the game plan. And I'd encourage anyone who hasn't had a game plan, get one. If you have one, we would love to sit down with you and say, where are we at now? Oftentimes a year or two goes by, we've bought houses and things change. And so let's sit down and look at where are we at today, and do we need to tweak or do we need to make any changes on the direction that we're headed? So I'm going to start off. Many of you have seen this before, and I like it. And it's kind of an underlying foundation for what we do, but it's create, manage, protect in order to grow. And there's really 4 parts to this. Create is we've got to create the scenarios. We've got to create the plan. We've got to be creative and see what we have to work with and go through that process. And then we've got to manage. And then we've got to protect what we have. And we've got to constantly juggle what's going on with the market. And as we manage, as we protect, we might get in one market, get out one market, or do different things. And so keep this in mind as I go through, because really it's created around this concept that we want to create new income, we want to manage it properly, we want to protect it, all for the reason of growing it. So how do we create a game plan? The first thing we do is identify. And I have a couple scenarios of some game plans that I personally have done in the last couple of months, 2, 3, 4 months maybe, because some of them started buying some houses. And I just want to give you a couple different examples of where they were and what we came up with. So one was a recently divorcee, single mom, 4 kids, been divorced about 1.5 years and got some money in the divorce. She has child support coming in and she has some alimony coming in. But the alimony ends in 2022, at the end of 2022. So we had about $150,000 to work with, and she had that sitting in an account, and she was getting all kinds of different advice, right, of what to do with that. But her main priority was, I have a certain amount of alimony coming in every single month that's going to disappear. And that's significant to her. And so it was, can we create a plan that over the course of the next 4 to 5 years, how close can we get to replacing that? Can we exceed it, or where can we get to? And so we developed a plan for her, and she's just going under contract this Friday on her first house. And with our conservative projections, we're not going to quite replace it, but we're going to get pretty close. Oftentimes real estate's friendly to us and we can exceed our expectations, or we might get more appreciation than we're anticipating, or there's a chance that we could get to where we want to get to. But if not, we're going to get pretty close, and she feels really good. She can sleep better at night knowing that, okay, there's a plan, and here's what it looks like over the period of 4 to 5 years. Another one is some close friends of mine, and mid-50s, 56, 57 years old, worked good job their entire lives and had some equity in a small company. The small company was acquired, and they got a good chunk of cash. And so the plan was, okay, well, what do we do with all of this? And I said, well, let's put it all in real estate. I'm just kidding. No, we created a plan, and it was, okay, let's put some over here. Maybe let's annuitize some. Let's have some bonds. Let's have our super secure, safe, predictable, and let's chunk it all out. And we allocated a certain amount towards real estate. And his goal is to retire in the next 5 years. And he wants to replace his income with new income. And with the combination of everything that we put together, we had a plan, and they'll buy 8 or 9 houses in the first 6-7 months of working with us. And if you look at those houses and where they'll be in 5 years and on from there, we'll put a good chunk into replacing his income. So that completely changes his perspective of how he lives his life today, how he approaches his job, knowing that he's going to have that income coming in. What was the last scenario? First-time home buyer. So working with a young couple and buying their first home. Husband has good, stable job. Wife's a school teacher. They've always rented. Husband's job requires him to travel quite a bit and potentially relocate. So they've never owned before, but they want to own. However, they're looking at it from an investment mindset. They have a 5-year-old and like a 2 or 3-year-old. And they're looking at it as, okay, if we buy this house, we want it to work for us today, but we want to convert it into a rental property because more than likely we're going to move. And what will that look like? And so it's fun shopping for houses with them with that in mind, because most people that are buying their first homes are looking at it. There's a lot of emotions involved. Sometimes they may spend more than they should, or they'll max out their debt-to-income ratios. So I'm able to guide them through that to say, okay, what's going to be work for you today, but be really set you up to be in a good situation tomorrow. And that'll become their first investment property. And they don't even have enough money to go buy an investment property today, but they have enough money for a down payment on a primary residence. So it's a great mindset to get into real estate. So those are just a couple examples that I personally have experienced recently with the whole identify process. And this is really one I just like to sit down and get a blank sheet of paper and just start, okay, tell me everything. What do you have? And oftentimes we uncover money that people don't realize they can use to allocate towards real estate. Oftentimes we'll analyze a portfolio and they don't realize the amount of fees that they're paying, or that it's not performing as well as they thought, or they might look at a year-to-date portfolio in the market and it's at 8%. But if we look at over the last 5 years and it did this, maybe it's really the effective rate is 3%. Or we just go through that whole process, say where's your money at, what's it doing for you, and let's look to see if it could be doing better for you. Oftentimes we uncover in this process that maybe you don't have enough money to work with today. That doesn't mean we just kick you to the side and completely disqualify you. Sometimes we'll brainstorm, do you have cash partners or credit partners? Sometimes people have cash, but they don't have credit. They can't qualify for a conventional mortgage, and so we need to help align that. Or vice versa. They have good credit, but they don't have enough cash, and so we can explore who's in your sphere of influence that you could potentially bring in and you could get started sooner rather than later. Okay?